up, everyone? My name is Jimmy Bill. Today we're going to be installing some Dirt King Fabrication lower control arms on my 2010 5th Gen 4Runner Limited. So here's what comes in the box. We got our instructions, nice and detailed. With a list of what's included. We got our main hardware for the camber bolts. Got our Zerk Fittings and some poly grease. New castle nuts with cotter pins for the ball joints. Nice little keychain. And some bump stop spacers. And of course our beefy lower control arms. So we got our caster bolt here. We got one here and one on the back side of the control arm over there. Then we got our lower shock bolt to take off. Two bolts that hold the bracket for the ball joint on. And then one bolt for the ball joint with the cotter pin. And my ball joints are completely shot. That's why I'm doing this. Alright, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is mark my caster bolts. That way I know where to put them afterwards. Then we'll start with our ball joint. Take off the cotter pin. Straighten it out a little bit. I might have to pound it out with this. Not the prettiest thing, but she's out. Alright, so we'll start with the two bottom ball joint bolts. loosen up the ball joint bolt while I got it on the vehicle. she loose. Lower shocks loose. Alright. Alright, there's one caster bolt. There we go. Just like that. Control arms out. Now, back this bolt up a little bit. Now we're going to take our Zerk fittings and install them here, facing the ball joint, so it's easier to service when it's on the truck. And then we'll put our provided Prothane grease on the edges here and slide them into place. So these Zerk fittings are a 10mm. Just get them started by hand so you make sure you don't cross thread them. There we go. Get that one started. This one going. And you don't want to tighten these up too much. They will break. Just nice and snug, facing the ball joint. Just like that. Now we're going to be putting this ball joint bracket back on so we can bolt our ball joint back up. I believe this thing goes right here so it can hit. to put the castle nut on the right way. I had to redo it. Alright, ball joints on. Now all we got left is our shock bolt, lower shock bolt. Now we gotta get our 19mm again. Wherever I put that in. Just a little tip, if you noticed how I lined up my marks and kind of tightened it up in place before I did everything, and that helps keep everything in line and helps you tighten up your ball joint and your bracket. And of course, I forgot to do my bump stop spacer. tip, if you noticed how I lined up my marks and kind of tightened it up in place before I did everything, and that helps keep everything in line and helps you tighten up your ball joint and your bracket. And of course, I forgot to do my bump stop spacer. Don't forget to do your bump stop spacer like me. Luckily, I was able to use an oil filter wrench to get it off without removing everything. Side one complete. All right. All right, everybody. Got the first side done. Everything torqued to spec. Everything's going pretty smooth. Getting ready to get started on the other side. Alright, cotter pins out. Now we gotta take off our lower shock bolt once again. It's a 19 millimeter. Shock bolts up. Control arm bolts. The 22 millimeter. She's out. Just like that. Our ball joint spindle bracket is free. Clean up all this ball joint grease. forget, we're gonna do our bump stop spacer. Now we just gotta grab our spacer, bam, pop it in there. We're on the home stretch, so all we got to do is torque everything to spec, throw the wheels back on. So I'm gonna go ahead and grease up my Zerk fittings right now so I don't forget. And they're easy to access with the wheel off. Now we're gonna throw the wheels back on. Wily doggo. Looking pretty cool. Can't wait to drop it down and roll it out.